All right, welcome everybody to ACT English Grammar Rules. This is part two, finally, part two. We're going to go over some questions from an ACT English practice test here and practice applying these grammar rules that you learned about in part one. And by the way, if you haven't seen part one yet, go back and watch part one. You got to learn the grammar rules. You got to know all of them, and we're going to practice applying them here. So go back, watch that if you haven't yet. But if you've watched it, let's practice applying these rules. I've got a student with us today. This is Abdul. Say hi to everybody, please, Abdul.
Hey, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Abdul. I appreciate it. And you've got the ACT English practice test in front of you right now. Here's what we're going to do. We're just going to read this passage together, and we're going to answer these questions as they pop up, and we're going to practice applying the ACT English grammar rules. So go ahead and start reading that first passage, The Triangular Snowflake. Take it away, Abdul.
Okay. Snowflakes form from tiny water droplets following a specific process of chemical bonding as they freeze, which results in a six-sided figure.
Okay, I'm going to stop you real quick, Abdul. What
Yes.
did you think about answer choice A? How did that sound to you so far?
Snowflakes form from tiny. It has like unnecessary pauses.
Where's the unnecessary pause there, do you think?
The comma after snowflakes form.
Well, there's no comma after snowflakes form. Are you plugging in? Are you looking at answer choice A? Answer choice A is the underlined portion.
Oh, my bad. I'm looking
Yeah.
at B.
Okay, you're plugging in. I got you. Yeah.
Snowflakes form from tiny water droplets following a specific. Yeah, A looks good.
A sounds good, right? I agree with you there. Now you're right. If you do plug in B, right, then there's those unnecessary pauses. Now here's the key, right? From
Sir.
the previous grammar rules video that you watched, if there's a comma, you got to take a pause there. So if you're plugging in answer choice B, it'll sound like this: snowflakes form from tiny water droplets following, right? Like you got to take those pauses.
Yeah.
When you take those pauses with B, it just sounds awful. So, but A sounds all right. Let's keep it, okay? Now I want you to plug in answer choice C, right? Just plug it into the sentence and make sure that you take a pause where there's a comma.
Yes, sir. Snowflakes form from tiny water droplets following a specific chemical.
Okay, yeah, you can stop there. How's that sound, Abdul?
That does not sound
That
good.
does not sound good. That's never a good sign. Let's try D.
Snowflakes form from tiny water droplets following a specific process.
Okay, how does that sound?
That kind of sounds good too.
Now, well, here's the deal. You took a pause after droplets. I don't know if you caught that. There's no pause. There's no comma there after droplets for D.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you got to be real careful. You got to read it accurately as written. Here's how it would sound if you read it accurately. Ready? Snowflakes form from tiny water droplets following a process of chemical bonding as they freeze. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds better than A.
You think that sounds better than A? Snowflakes form from tiny water droplets following a specific process of chemical bonding as they freeze. I think A sounds better. I'll be straight with you. Yeah. Hold on. Listen to him. I want you to do D one more time. Make sure you don't take the pause after droplets. If you take the pause after droplets, it sounds all right. But make sure you read through it. It's tough to read without the pause after droplets. Try it again.
Yes, sir. Snowflakes form from tiny water droplets following a specific chemical. Okay. And then snowflakes form from tiny water droplets following a specific. Okay, yeah. A, yeah. Okay.
Do you
A
feel
does
that? Right? D is tough to read without that pause. But that's the big takeaway is that you've got to read it accurately as written. And maybe that process, isn't absolutely perfect, but it's your best bet with commas. At the very least, you can easily get rid of B and C. And then worst case scenario, you've got a 50-50 chance between A and D. That's not bad. But I think if you really pay attention to the rhythm of the language and you take those pauses where there's the commas and you don't take them where there's not, then I think A sounds the best. Does that make some sense, Abdul?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. And that's it for commas. Now, of course, there's the other part, too. You got to make sure you don't use a comma to separate two standalone thoughts. But that doesn't play a role there. It's just sort of the rhythm of the language. So let's keep reading from the next sentence. The rare triangular snowflake.
The rare triangular snowflake similarly confounded scientists for years because it apparently defined the basic laws of chemistry.
Okay. Now, I want to stop and recognize kind of what the rule we're being tested on here is. Look at the answer choice here. We've got a couple different words, well, 4 different words. Similarly, for example, additionally, however. This is that transition word rule. Do you remember that from the rules? You've got the rules document in front of you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want to take a look at that real quick. Look at those transition words. And this is rule number 3. And there's a sort of a formula we go through here on these transition words, which is we're
Yes.
going to read the two sentences being related. Okay.
Mhm.
Then we're going to identify the relationship between the two ideas and the two sentences. Once we know the relationship, then we'll be able to find the right transition word. It's going to be either a relationship of contrast or similarity or cause and effect or providing examples. Okay. So let's
Yes,
go
sir.
back to that question and let's follow that process. What we really need to do, we need to read those two sentences. The sentence before, so really at the very beginning of the paragraph, and then we need to read the second sentence, the rare triangular snowflake, but read it without the transition word. Does that make some sense?
Yes, sir.
And we got to see what that relationship is. Go ahead and read those two sentences together.
Snowflakes form from tiny water droplets following a specific process of chemical bonding as they freeze, which results in a six-sided figure. The rare triangle snowflake confounded scientists for years because it apparently defined the basic laws of chemistry.
Ooh, do you think you see the relationship there between those two ideas? And if you don't, it's not a problem. We'll talk about what the ideas are if we need
It
to.
seems like it's like a contrast.
I tend to agree with you. I do. Because what's
Yeah.
the first idea in that first sentence? In the snowflake form from tiny water droplets. What's the idea?
It's about the specific chemical bonding.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and normally, right, it results in this six-sided figure.
Six-sided figure.
Right?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
what's saying, right? And
Yeah.
then we've got this in the second sentence, right? This triangular snowflake confounded scientists for years, confused them because it appeared to defy the laws of chemistry.
Yeah.
So I would agree that's definitely contrast. Like normally this happens, but in this case this happens. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Why that's contrast?
Yes, sir.
You should be able to look at the answer choices now. There's only one contrast transition word there, Abdul. Do you see which one it is?
However,
However, absolutely. I want you to plug that in. Read the two sentences together. Plug in however. It should sound good because I think that's right.
the rare triangular snowflake.
Take it from snowflake's form.
All right.
Yeah.
Snowflakes form from tiny water droplets, following a specific process of chemical bonding as they freeze, which results in a six-sided figure. The rare triangular snowflake, however, confounded scientists for years because it apparently defined the basic laws of chemistry.
How does that sound, Abdul?
Yeah, that sounds good.
That sounds good, and that's right. It is J. Absolutely. Questions about that? Or does that process make sense?
No, sir, that
Okay,
makes sense.
great. Most of the time when it's a transition word question, the two ideas are going to be in two separate sentences. The one before the question, then the one with the question, with the underlying portion. Yeah, so just go through that process, read those two together, find the relationship, and then pick the matching transition word. You can also think in terms of elimination here, right? If you look at the answer choices, like it's just not a similarity relationship. That would be answer choice A. G
Yeah.
would be providing examples relationship. In fact, H is also a similarity relationship. Additionally, do you see that?
Yeah.
And
Yes,
so
sir.
if you see two answer choices of the same relationship, like F and H are both
Yeah.
similarity, then just get rid of them. They're not going to give you two
Yeah.
right answers. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you can also think in terms of elimination on these questions, but it is contrast. It is J. Let's keep reading. Take from the seemingly triangular shape.
The seemingly triangular shape of those snowflakes suggests that forming through a different process of chemical bonding.
Okay. How does answer choice A sound there, Abdul?
A does not sound too good.
It does not sound too good. That's never a good sign, man. Never a good
Yeah.
sign. Let's plug in B.
The seemingly triangular shape of those snowflakes suggests the manner in which formation through a different process of chemical bonding. It's too long.
That just does not sound good. It is really, really wordy and doesn't seem right. Let's try C.
The seemingly triangular shape of those snowflakes suggests which had formed through a different process. That doesn't like flow off the tongue.
No. Right. Anytime you kind of stumble over an answer choice and you plug it in, never a good sign. You don't even need to know the rule yet, but A, B, and C don't sound good. Let's try D.
Yeah. The seemingly triangular shape of those snowflakes suggests that they form through a different process of chemical bonding.
That sounds the best. And also, like, that's good enough there. And that's my last rule of kind of, going with your gut, listening to your gut instincts. Trust your ear, trust your instincts. If you plug in the answer choices and it just sounds bad, it feels off, it's probably not right. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah.
And that's good enough there. It's D. Any questions about that, or are we good?
Wicked.
Okay, good. Now, when you're doing this test, obviously you can't read it out loud, but what I really recommend is that you hear, as best you can, hear these sentences in your head And sometimes even if you like need to mouth the words silently, you know what I'm saying? Like move your mouth, kind of get a feel
Yes.
for the rhythm of the language. That helps a ton, but that's enough to get you the right answer there. So I think we're good. Let's take it from the next sentence.
By creating snowflakes formations, a discovery has revealed to scientists Kenneth Liebrecht and Hannah Arnold the cause of this apparent variation.
All right. How does answer choice F sound, the underlined portion?
By making it's the pause seems a bit unnecessary.
Well, we don't have a choice here because there's a comma after
Yeah,
formation. Notice that's
before the
that,
question.
yeah. So that's not there's no question about that. We're going to take a pause there. How does the
Yeah.
underlined portion sound?
It feels like it's like not in the right order.
Yeah, there's something off. You don't have to know exactly what it is. I'll tell you what it is here in just a little bit.
Yes.
But it doesn't sound great. Something feels off. Let's try G. Plug in G. Plug into the whole sentence.
By recreating snowflakes formations, the discovery of the cause of this apparent variation has been made by scientists Kenneth and Hannah Arnold.
How's answer choice G sound?
This does not sound good.
It doesn't sound good either. It's just kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Let's try H.
By recreating snowflake formations, scientists Kenneth and Hannah Arnold have discovered the cause of this apparent variation.
How's answer choice H sound?
It sounds more concise and
it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit shorter, certainly, than G. That's, all right, let's keep it. It sounds all right. Let's try J.
By recreating snowflakes formation, the cause of this apparent variation has been discovered by scientists Kenneth and Hannah Arnold.
How's J sound?
It just seems like it's made harder for no reason.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Right? What's the right answer here?
H.
It's got to be H, right? And it just makes the most sense. It's the easiest to read. It's the clearest. It's probably the most concise.
Yeah.
It's H. Now, let me tell you the rule that applies here. This is the misplaced modifier rule. Do you remember that from the last rules video?
Yes, sir.
I want to go to that rules document real quick, and I want to refresh anybody watching this video, refresh their memory here. This is rule number, what rule number is it? Number 7, right? And here's the deal. If you see a descriptive phrase, that descriptive phrase needs to come immediately before or immediately after the word it's describing or modifying. And then I've got an incorrect example there. Are you looking at rule number 7? Do you see it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, remember that example. It's blazing through the night sky for brief periods of time. So there's a descriptive phrase. So someone or something is blazing through the night sky for brief periods of time. In the incorrect example, it's humans that follows that description. Well, that doesn't make sense because it's probably not humans blazing through the night sky for brief periods of time. So the correct version is blazing through the night sky for brief periods of time. Comets have long fascinated humans. Now we have the thing being described coming right after the descriptive phrase. That's how it's got to work. If we go back to the question here, there's a descriptive phrase at the beginning of the sentence. By recreating snowflake formation. So someone or something has recreated snowflake formation. Well, who or what has recreated snowflake formation, Abdul? Who or what?
The scientists.
The scientists. Scientists Kenneth Liebrecht and Hannah Arnold. And that's why H works, and that's why it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Right? The others have, like answer choice A says, a discovery. That's what follows the descriptive phrase. The discovery didn't recreate snowflake formation.
Yeah.
That's for F and G. And then J says the cause, right? The cause of this variation didn't recreate snowflake formation. No, it's the scientists.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
It's tough to catch because there's nothing like grammatically incorrect in the underlined portion here. Right? It just doesn't make sense in the sentence unless you go with H. Questions about that?
No, sir.
Okay, tough to catch, but be on the lookout for it. But once again, even without knowing the rule, you can kind of go with your gut instinct there and go with what sounds the best. So I just want to point that out as well. Let's keep going. Let's take it from snowflakes begin to form.
Snowflakes begin to form when water in the atmosphere freezes. It causes the water molecules to bond in a hexagonal shape.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to stop you real quick. I want you to reread that, actually. Now, notice with answer choice A, the underlined portion, there's no punctuation there in the underlined portion, right? You've got to just read right through that, no pauses.
Yeah.
Okay, I want you to try it again. Read it accurately as written.
Yes, sir. Snowflakes begin to form when water in the atmosphere freezes. It causes the water molecules to bond into a hexagonal shape.
Okay, how does that sound, Abdul?
It seems like a run-on
Oh boy,
sentence.
that's bad, man.
Yeah,
That's bad, right? Now you got to be careful, right? Because if you take a pause there where there's no pause indicated, it might sound all right.
yeah,
But when you read
yeah.
it accurately, ooh, that's rough. Yeah, that's just too much. Let's try B.
Snowflakes begin to form when water in the atmosphere freezes, causing the water molecules to bond into a hexagonal shape.
How does that sound?
That sounds good.
That sounds much better. Yeah, absolutely. Let's
Yeah.
keep B. Let's try answer choice C.
Snowflakes begin to form when water in the atmosphere freezes. It causes the water molecules to bond into a hexagonal shape. That also sounds good.
That also sounds good. Let's keep
Yeah.
it. So we got B and C. Let's try D.
Snowflakes begin to form when water in the atmosphere freezes. This causes the water molecules to bond into a hexagonal shape.
How's
That
answer choice
also-
C sound? That also sounds good. Now there's a problem here, Abdul. Right? They're not going to give you 3 right answers.
Yeah.
There's got to be something wrong with 3 of these answer choices. There's got to be something wrong. Okay. We know
Yes.
A is wrong because we got to have a pause there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do
Do you
Snowflakes begin
do you see how B, C, and D are different, or no?
Yeah, because it has a prepositional phrase. Is that
Yeah, I'm
Is
not
the-
sure which one does.
C does? I don't know if this is a prepositional phrase.
Yeah, it's not. Well, it is a pronoun. It's not a
Yeah.
prepositional phrase. That's not it.
Um.
Here's the deal. The way you read C and D, you
Uh-huh.
read those kind of like you'd read a period, like you took a full stop after
Yeah.
freezes. Keep in
Uh-huh.
mind, a comma is just a brief pause.
Yes,
So
sir.
I want to read C and D a little more accurately. Listen to how I think it should be read. Snowflakes begin to form when water in the atmosphere freezes. It causes the water molecules to bond into a hexagonal shape.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's just a little pause there.
Yeah.
And you got to be careful when you ever see commas in the answer choices. There's 2 parts of the comma rule. One is that you got to make sure you take you use a comma whenever you need a brief pause. But let's go to the comma rule real quick. There's the second part of the comma rule that applies. This is rule
Yes.
number 1. I want you to read the comma rule for me.
Use commas whenever you need a brief pause. If you don't need a brief pause, leave it out. Should not be used to connect 2 standalone thoughts. There, a period or semicolon must be used.
And it's the second part of the comma
Yeah.
rule that applies here, right? You got to be on the lookout for this. It's tough to catch, especially if you
Yeah.
read the comma like a period. It might sound okay.
Yeah.
Which is why you can't always just go with your instincts. You got to look out for the rules and think in terms of the rules. But if we go with answer choice C, I think that gives us 2 standalone thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Read the first half before the comma. I just want to hear that. See if that stands alone.
Snowflakes begin to form when water in the atmosphere freezes.
Okay, stop. Does that stand alone?
Yeah. That's
Yeah, it does.
Yep.
It does. Read the second half.
It causes the water molecules. It causes the water molecules to bond into a hexagonal shape.
Does that stand alone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Ooh. What about D?
Snowflakes begin to form when water in the atmosphere freezes.
Yeah, that stands alone. That's the same.
This causes the water molecules to bond into a hexagonal shape.
Does that stand alone?
No.
Oh, that does. That does. This causes the water molecules to bond into a hexagonal shape.
Oh,
That
okay,
stands
okay.
alone.
Oh,
That stands alone.
okay.
Mm-hmm. It's very similar to C.
Yeah. So is B.
Yeah, let's double check. Make sure the second half doesn't stand alone for B.
Yes, sir.
And just read the second half because we know the first half stands alone.
Causing the water molecules to bond into a hexagonal shape.
Does that stand alone?
No, sir.
No, it does not, and that's why we can use the comma there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's tough to catch. It's tough to catch. But if you see commas in the answer choices, man, be on the lookout for that. Make sure you're not using a comma to separate 2 standalone thoughts. And then
Yes, sir.
don't treat it like a period. Don't read it like a period, because if you do, it might sound all right. You got to be on the lookout for it. It pops up a lot. Questions
Yes,
about that,
sir.
or does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay, great. Let's keep going. Take it from during the snowflake's descent.
During the flakes' descent from Earth's upper atmosphere, other water vapor molecules bumps into hexagonal shapes, hexagonal structures.
Okay. How does answer choice F sound, the underlined portion there?
It does not. The bumps part does
that
not.
does not sound good. It does not. Let's try G.
During the flake's descent from Earth's upper atmosphere, other water vapor molecules has bumped. That also does not sound
No,
good.
man. No.
During the flake's descent from Earth's upper atmosphere, other water vapor molecules bumped into hexagonal shapes.
How's
That that kind of sounds.
It sounds better than F or G.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's try J.
During the flake's descent from Earth's upper atmosphere, other water vapor molecules bump into hexagonal shapes. That sounds good.
That sounds the best, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what rule we're being tested on here for number 6?
The tense.
Yeah, there's a tense element, right? Because if you look at the answer choices, and by the way, if you're ever unsure about the rule you're being tested on, just look at the answer choices and ask yourself how they're different, right? We've got different tenses here. But it's not just different tenses, it's also different numbers here. Like, so we've got some singular verbs and we've got some plural verbs as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think a good place to start, even if you see different tenses, a good place to start is thinking in terms of subject-verb agreement, whether you need a singular verb or a plural verb. Okay? Now, here's my question for you, Abdul. Who or what is doing the bumping here? Who or what is bumping into the hexagonal structure?
The other one, the other water vapor molecules.
Yeah, the other water vapor molecules. Now, is other water vapor molecules, is that singular or is that plural?
That's plural.
It's plural, right? Other water vapor molecules. Is that clear? Like a water vapor molecule would be singular, but
would be singular. Yeah.
Other water vapor molecules is plural. So we need a plural verb here. A plural verb.
Yeah.
Okay. This is rule number. I think it's rule number 6. Hold on. Let me check. Oh no, it is not. It is rule number. It's rule number 8. Make it match.
Yeah.
Make it match a number. Right. So the example there is a pack of wild wolves is roaming through the neighborhood. That's right. That's from the first video. So here's the trick. I don't know if you remember watching that video. To determine if a verb is singular or plural, you can, if you need a singular or a plural verb, which we need here, we can test the answer choices with the plural pronoun they. Okay,
yes,
you remember that from the video?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's look at answer choice F. Can we say they bumps? Can you say that?
No.
No, man. No. Can you say they has bumped?
No.
No, because both of those are singular. You could say it bumps or it has bumped. You don't say they has bumped or they bumps. I think H might work. Can you say they bumped?
Yeah, they bumped.
That's fine. Or J, they bump.
Yeah,
that's fine. Yeah, those last two are plural.
Yeah.
But we know it's not F or G because those are singular. And they don't sound good either, so that's never a good sign. So then we can think in terms of tense, right? Do we need present tense or do we need past tense here?
Present.
We need present tense. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you look at the ideas around it, right? Snowflakes begin to form. That's present. It's all present tense. Yeah. So we need present tense here. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but again, it sounds the best, so that's helpful as well. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, you're doing great, Abdul. Let's keep rolling. Let's do question number 7. Go ahead and read the underlined portion for number 7.
All right. Bypassing the liquid water phase, those molecules condense directly onto the established hexagonal pattern.
Okay, great. And then go and read question number 7.
If the writer were to delete the underlined portion, the sentence would primarily lose.
Okay, do you understand this question here, Abdul?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and they're not testing us on grammar here, right? I mean, like, if it's a grammar rule, it's going to be like all the others. I mean, look at question 8, where there's no question. It's just like 4 answers, right? There's a grammar rule they're testing on.
Yeah.
But if they give you a specific question, we just got to answer this question. Okay, so if the writer deletes the underlined portion, the sentence would primarily lose. Well, let's test these answer choices. Go ahead and read answer choice A.
An explanation of the process water molecules undergo to change from liquid, vapor, to solid.
Okay, so if we got rid of that underlined portion, would the sentence lose an explanation of the process water molecules undergo to change from liquid to vapor to solid?
I think it's definitely not A.
Yeah, I don't think there's an explanation. I mean, like, do you see an explanation
No.
anywhere in the underlined portion? Is there an explanation there?
Um.
I mean, I don't see an explanation.
Yeah, there's no explanation.
Not in the underlined portion.
Yes, sir.
There's no explanation.
Yeah.
So I don't think it can be A. Let's try B.
A detail that mentions
Go ahead and read it out loud.
A detail that mentions a step some water molecules skip in changing from vapor to solid.
Okay, if we delete that underlined portion, would the sentence lose a detail that mentions a step some water molecules skip in changing from vapor to solid?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it says bypassing the liquid water phase. Right? So
yes, sir.
If it's going directly from vapor to solid, it's bypassing the liquid. Okay, I mean, like, even if you don't fully understand, like, the chemistry behind it, it's like, okay, it does mention a detail at the very least of a step, right, that the water molecules might skip. So that makes some sense. It's more of a detail than an explanation, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll keep B. Let's try C.
A visual description of what water vapor molecules look like.
Okay.
That's
definitely not. Yeah, where's a visual description?
Yeah.
Right? You can just look at the first part of the answer choices. And if you think about it logically, in light of the question, you can't go with A or C.
Yeah.
What about D?
An explanation of how molecules react to various air temperatures. It does not mention temperatures at all.
Not at all, and still no explanation.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
It's got to be B. Even if you weren't like sold on B or weren't super clear about the chemistry, it's the only one that makes sense if you think in terms of elimination. It's the only one that could be, and it is B here. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so just laser focus on the question, laser focus on that underlined portion here. And you got to go with B. Really, really good job navigating that, Abdul. Let's keep going. Let's take it from as a result.
As a result, the flake grows outward into bigger and more complex hexagonal arrangements, surrounding the original hexagonal shape at the center of the flake. In 2009, Libert and Arnold's experiments revealed that triangular snowflakes begin with the same process of chemical bonding and forms a hexagonal shape.
Okay, I'm going to stop you real quick. How does answer choice F sound?
F does not flow off the tongue.
Yeah.
Too good.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels a little off. Hold on just a minute. And I want to point one thing out real quick. Some students might be tempted to skip straight from question 7 to like the sentence where question 8 is at. And I just want to point out, you can't do that, man. You've got to read the whole thing like we just did. Because they're going to ask us some questions here at the end about like the meaning of the passage, the ideas in the passage. So you can't just skip from one underlined portion to the next. Does that make sense why you can't do that?
Yes,
that'll be real clear when we get to the end, when they ask us about the main ideas. Let's try answer choice G here. Let's plug that into the sentence.
In 2009, Libert and Arnold's experiment revealed that triangular snowflakes begin with the same process of chemical bonding and were they to form a hexagonal shape.
How's G sound?
That does not sound good.
That doesn't sound good, man.
Yeah.
Let's try H.
In 2009, Libert and Arnold's experiments revealed that triangular snowflakes begin with the same process of chemical bonding and if they formed a hexagonal shape. That also does not sound good.
Man, it does not sound good. I don't even think that's a complete sentence.
Yeah.
That's really bad. Let's try J.
In 2009, Libert and Arnold's experiments revealed that triangular snowflakes begin with the same process of chemical bonding and form a hexagonal shape.
How's J sound? That sounds the best. And I got news for you. It is J. Absolutely. Do you know what rule they're testing us on here, Abdul?
Is it the tense again?
You could argue it's tense, potentially. It's more often than not, even when we see different tenses, it's more often than not make it match number. Make it match number.
Okay.
Or you could say it's both.
Yeah.
Right, but both F and J are present tense. So you got to think in terms of more than just tense. Okay. Now, who or what is doing the forming of the hexagonal shape here? Who or what?
Is it the scientists?
The scientists aren't forming a hexagonal shape. No, probably not.
Oh, like the chemical bonding.
Well, the chemical bonding isn't forming a hexagonal shape either.
Triangular. Oh, the triangular snowflakes.
The triangular snowflakes.
Yep.
Yeah, the triangulation. Does that make sense? Why?
Yes, sir.
That's the subject here for this verb. Yeah. Now they're doing two things. The triangular snowflakes begin with the same process of chemical bonding, and they're also
And-
forming a hexagonal
yeah.
shape. So is triangular snowflakes, is that singular or is that plural?
The snowflakes, so that's plural.
That's plural. So
Yeah.
we need a plural verb. Now, some
Yeah.
students might look at F and be like, oh, forms, there's an S at the end. That's got to be plural. No, 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 no. It does not work that way with verbs, Abdul. No.
Yes, sir.
Right? Remember when you need to find out if you need a plural, right? Test with they. They.
Yeah.
Can you say they forms?
That does not work.
That does not work. Can you say they form?
They form.
Oh yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Because forms, it forms is singular. It forms. And in fact, singular verbs tend to have an S at the end. It goes, it flies, it swims, it jumps, it exists. Right? Those are all singular verbs and have an S at the end. So you can't just look for the S, right? That's for nouns,
Yes, sir.
you know. So if you need a singular verb, test with it. If you need plural, test with they. But J also sounds the best, so that's good enough there. Any questions about that, Abdul?
No, sir.
Okay. Is this different from how you've been thinking about these questions on previous ACTs you've taken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll still start with plug it in, go with your gut instincts, but once you can identify the rule, when you see different verb forms, you can assume you're being tested on make it match number, make it match tense. Just think in terms of the rules, and you got it. All right.
Yes.
Let's keep rolling. The triangular shape.
The triangular shape is an illusion resulting from one significant addition to the process dust.
Okay. I love the way you read it, right? No pause there
Yes, sir.
anywhere. How did answer choice A sound for number 9?
That part does not sound
It
good.
does not sound good, man. It does not sound good. Let's try B. Plug it in.
The triangular shape is an illusion resulting from one significant addition to the process is dust.
All right. How's answer choice B sound?
Not good.
Not good.
Yeah. The triangular shape is an illusion resulting from one significant addition to the process dust.
How's answer choice C sound?
That sounds good.
That sounds all right. Now, when do we use a colon? That's a colon there. Do you remember that from the last
Yes,
video?
sir.
When do you use a colon?
It's like when you have a list or connecting an idea to something.
Yeah. It could
So-
be. It's really versatile. It could be an explanation, a description, or a list. Maybe half the time it's a list. That's maybe the most common use. But it could also be a list of one item. Be aware of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So is what follows one significant addition to the process?
Dust. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That could work, right? You know, it's just one word, but that's a thing. Let's try D.
The triangular shape is an illusion resulting from one significant addition to the process dust.
How's D?
C still sounds better.
Yeah, I mean, D roughly sounds the same. I mean, you're taking a pause after process. Now, notice that punctuation mark is different. That's a semicolon with answer choice D. When do we use a semicolon, Abdul? When do we use it? I'm going to go to the rules document.
When they could stand on their own, like the two sentences.
Yes, yeah. It's for two related statements that could still stand on their own. It's complete sentences. That's the semicolon. So do we have two standalone thoughts here? Two statements that could stand on their own as a complete sentence in this question?
Nope.
No way, man. Dust doesn't stand alone.
Yeah.
So it can't be D. So that's why you can't just go with the way it sounds, because it's going to sound roughly the same as C.
Yeah.
You just got to pay attention to, apply the rule there, basically, and you realize you can't go with the semicolon there. C sounds the best, and it works, and it follows the colon rule. Questions about that, or no?
No, sir.
All right. You're doing great. Let's keep rolling from triangular snowflakes.
Triangular snowflakes begin to form when a tiny dust particle or other such impurity collides with the flake as it falls, thereby pushing one edge upward. The downward edge of the snowflake encounters more wind resistance than the rest of the flake. The greater the pressure from the wind causes bonds to form quick at this edge than in the rest of the snowflake.
Ooh, how does answer choice F sound there in that sentence?
It doesn't go together.
It does not sound good. Let's try G.
The greater pressure from the wind, which causes bonds to form quick at this edge than in the rest of the snowflake. That does not sound good either.
Does not sound good either. It's never a good sign. Let's try H.
The greater the pressure as the wind causes bonds to form quick at this edge than in the rest of the snowflake. That does not sound good either.
No. Try J.
The greater the pressure from the wind causes bonds to form quick at this edge than in the rest of the snowflake. That sounds better.
That sounds the best.
Yeah.
That sounds the best. It is J there. It is J there. Okay. Your best bet is probably just going through gut instinct there. I know it's a little bit tricky because we've got to fix number 11 as well, right? Do you see that? And I think that feels a little bit off. We'll test that again. But, and here you might want to actually answer number 11 first.
First? Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just because that's going to, I think that one's easier to determine. Yes, what did you think about A for number 11? We've already read the sentence. What did you think about that? Causes bonds to form quick at this edge. Yeah. It doesn't. Good. It's not good. Let's try answer choice B, and you can just take it from causes bonds to form.
All right. Causes bonds to form more quickly at this edge than in the rest of the snowflake.
How's that sound?
That sounds better.
That sounds better. Try C.
Yeah. Causes bonds to form most quickly at this edge than in the rest of the snowflake. That does not sound good.
No, that does not sound good. Try D.
Yeah. Causes bonds to form quickest at this edge than in the rest of the snowflake. That also does not sound good.
No, yeah. 11 is B. So I want to read the whole. I want to read the whole sentence now by plugging in answer choice D for number 10 and answer choice B for number 11. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Let's hear the whole thing. I want to make sure it works.
Yes, sir. The greater pressure from the wind causes bonds to form more quickly at this edge than in the rest of the snowflake.
How's that sound?
That sounds good.
That sounds good. And that is right for both of them. Absolutely. Yeah, that's tough. Both of those are actually really tricky. Notice there's a comparison going on here, right? Something causes bonds to form more quickly at this edge than the rest of the snowflake. So you wouldn't say quickest at this edge than the rest of the snowflake, right? You're just comparing two things. One thing could be quicker than another, but you wouldn't say one thing would be quickest than another. That doesn't make any sense. That's the same problem with C as well. It's not most quickly than another, but more quickly than another is fine. That's why it sounds good. Questions about that, or does that make sense?
No, sir, that makes sense.
You're doing great. But man, really listen to those instincts. I mean, that's good enough on both of those. Going with what feels the best.
Yes, sir.
Let's keep going from the resulting snowflake.
The resulting snowflake has 3 long sides and 3 sides that are so short they're difficult to detect. Although these snowflakes appear to have a triangular shape, they have a hexagonal pattern.
All right. How's the answer choice F sound for number 12?
It has like an unnecessary pause. Or it's not unnecessary, but like.
Well, what punctuation mark is that there for number 12?
The hex mark or something?
Yeah, they call it an M dash. M dash. Yeah. When do you use an M dash? Do you remember when? We can go to the rules document.
Yeah. When there's a list, a description, or explanation.
Yeah, it's just like the colon, right?
Yes.
You introduce an explanation, list, or description. There is that double M dash which they test on. That's for a list, explanation, or description in the middle of the sentence. But let's go back to the question here. Do we have a list or an explanation or a description of a triangular shape?
It's more of an explanation.
But is it an explanation of a triangular shape?
No.
No, they're saying it's a different pattern, right? So it's not describing a triangular shape.
Yeah. So
it's just not right use of the M dash. Notice also, look at answer choice J for number 12.
Yeah.
Do you see they give you a colon for answer choice J?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you see an M dash and a colon in the exact same place in 2 different answer choices, and they're like having the same function, you can get rid of them both. Because an M dash and a single M dash and a single colon are completely interchangeable.
Okay.
So if F were correct, J would be correct as well.
Okay, yeah, but they're
give you 2 right answers, right? So you just get rid of them just if you can recognize that they're interchangeable. If they're testing on the double M dash, different story, but but here it's just a single M dash and a single colon. Let's try G, plug in G.
Although these snowflakes appear to have a triangular shape, they actually have a hexagonal pattern.
How's G sound?
This sounds good.
It sounds all right. Let's keep it. Let's try H.
Yeah. Although these snowflakes appear to have a triangular shape, they have a hexagonal pattern.
How's H sound?
Okay, so the grammar rule doesn't make sense.
Yeah. When do you use that semicolon? When do you use it?
when you're connecting it to another like thought.
Well,
Or
standalone thought, right? Two
yeah,
standalone thoughts, two complete
yeah,
sentences.
yeah.
And let's read the first half from although to shape.
Although these snowflakes appear to have a triangular shape,
All right, stop. Does that stand alone, Abdul?
yes, sir.
Oh, it does not.
Um,
It does not.
although,
Although these snowflakes appear to
oh,
have a
yeah, because
triangular
of
shape.
although.
It's like what? Yeah, that although throws it off, right? If it just said
Yeah,
these snowflakes appear to have a triangular shape, that would be fine.
fine. Yeah,
But although these snowflakes appear to have a triangular shape, it's like, okay, well, what about that? You got to
yeah,
finish that thought. If
yeah,
I said, although I went to the store, that doesn't stand alone, right? Although I
yeah,
went to the, well, what about? Although I went to the store, I couldn't find what I needed. Okay, that would be fine. You got to complete
yeah,
it. Or you could just say, I went to the store, that stands alone, but not, although I went to the store. So that's why we know it can't be H. We don't have two standalone thoughts here.
yes, sir.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, that's G. The comma there is enough. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
No, sir.
All right, let's keep reading.
Such snowflakes offer evidence that even when impurities interfere, the basic laws of chemistry still apply.
Okay, and let's read question number 13.
The choice most effectively concludes the sentence and the essay.
Okay. Now, here's the deal, Abdul. I want to consider the main point of this essay. What is the main point, the main idea of this essay? Do you recall?
Is it the shape of like the snowflakes and how they're made?
Yeah, and what about the shape? What about it?
The house like a triangle.
Well, most of the time it's like, well,
Yeah,
what is it? Most of the time it's a hexagon,
yeah.
right? But then they have these triangular snowflakes, or what appear to be triangular snowflakes. And what's the deal there with those? Do you recall that from the meaning of the passage?
Is it that they big? No.
Well, look at that last paragraph, right? They kind of explain what's going on.
Although these snowflakes appear to have a triangle shape. Oh, okay. So like when you look at them, it looks like it has a triangular shape.
Yeah. But they actually have a hexagonal pattern, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like, it seemed to be an exception, but it really wasn't an exception. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. That's sort of the main idea. And that's why you got to be careful when you're reading this. You got to really read for meaning. Pay close attention to the ideas. That's going to play a role here in this question. Okay. All these answer choices effectively conclude the sentence. They're all fine.
Yeah.
But so let's see which most effectively concludes the essay. Okay. So look at answer choice A. In fact, let's read that sentence.
Such snowflakes offer evidence that even when impurities interfere, the basic laws of chemistry still apply.
Okay. Does that effectively conclude the sentence and the essay?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Right? I think so, especially when we consider the main idea. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Let's keep that. Let's try B.
Such snowflakes offer evidence that even when impurities interfere, scientists can be certain that a solution to even the most confusing event will be found.
Does that effectively conclude the sentence and the essay?
Yeah, it's not concise.
No, well, that's not what they're testing on here. I mean, does that conclude the essay? So, like, does that kind of
it doesn't like wrap it up.
It doesn't wrap it up. That's a different idea.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and by the way, like, is that true that can scientists be certain that a solution to even the most confusing event will be found? I mean, is that true?
Oh.
No,
I mean, it could be, but no.
I don't think it is, dude. There's lots of things scientists don't have solutions to.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, that would be nice if it were true, but I don't even think that's a true statement. And it just doesn't wrap up the essay in the same way that A does so far. A does the best. Let's consider C and D, though. Go ahead and read C.
Such snowflakes offer evidence that even when impurities interfere, snowflakes will still fall if atmospheric conditions are favorable.
Okay, does that effectively conclude the sentence and the essay?
No, that's not the main idea.
No, not even close to the main idea.
Yeah.
No. Let's try D.
Such snowflakes offer evidence that even when impurities interfere, snowflakes come in many different shapes and sizes.
Does that effectively conclude the sentence and the essay?
No.
No, dude, no. And by the way, it's a true statement.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But no, that's just not even close.
So it's A.
It's got to be A, and it is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. And really, I mean, it makes the most sense just in the context of that sentence says, even when impurities interfere, right? There's sort of that condition there. And they finish it
Yeah.
out by saying, yeah, the basic laws of chemistry still apply, even when impurities interfere. And the others don't even work there. They don't even work there in the sentence. So that's the main idea for sure. Questions about that?
No, sir.
All right. All right. Let's look at number 14.
The writer is considering adding the following sentence to the essay. This growth can take the form of either branching, which forms stable symmetrical shapes, or
Faceting.
faceting, which forms unstable complex shapes. A in paragraph 1.
Okay. Well, read the question, though, as well.
If the writer were to add the sentence, it would most logically be placed at point.
Okay. All right. So point A in paragraph 1. Let's go back to paragraph 1. We'll find point A. And so here's what we need to do. We need to plug it in.
Yeah.
Okay. And there it is. Do you see where point A is sort of like in brackets?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I want to read the sentence before. So take it from the rare triangular snowflake, then read the sentence in the question, and then read the sentence that follows the seemingly triangular shape of these snowflakes. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Let's read it.
Okay. The rare triangular snowflake similarly confounded scientists for years because they apparently defined the basic laws of chemistry. This growth can take the form of either branching, which forms stable symmetrical shapes, or faceting, which forms unstable complex shapes. The seemingly triangular shape of these snowflakes suggests that forming through a different process of chemical bonding.
All right. How does that sound there?
That it doesn't have like the same ideas.
No, it doesn't sound good. What's the main idea of the sentences in the question here?
In the question, it's about the growth of you can say the form. Oh, what type of form the growth takes?
Yeah, it's about the growth.
Yeah.
This growth can take the form of either branching or faceting, right? And by the way, you can sort of read that sentence and cutting the stuff out in parentheses. That's never going to be essential to the main point of the sentence. I mean, it could further explain, give some detail, but you can still read it without that, and it should make sense, which it does here. So we've got to plug this in where they're talking about some sort of growth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So let's kind of be on the lookout for that as we continue to plug these in. We're going to plug in point B in paragraph 1. I'm going to go back to that.
Yes. The seemingly triangular shape of those snowflakes suggests that forming through a different process of chemical bonding. This growth can take the form of either branching, which forms stable symmetrical shapes, or faceting, which forms unstable complex shapes.
Okay, I think we'll stop you there. I mean, is there anything about growth there in the sentence before?
No,
that's not going to work, man. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Let's try it. I'm guessing the next one is C. So that's in paragraph 2.
As a result, the flake grows outward into bigger and more complex hexagonal arrangements surrounding the original hexagonal shape at the center of the flake. This growth can take the form of either branching or faceting. Yeah, this one does talk about growth.
That was so far the only one that talks about growth. Do you see that there at the beginning of the sentence? The flake grows outward into bigger, more complex hexagonal arrangements.
Yes, sir.
That could work. Let's try D.
Okay. Triangular snowflakes begin to form when a tiny dust particle or other such impurity collides with the flake as it falls, thereby pushing one edge upward. This growth can take the form of either branching or faceting.
All right, we can stop there. How does that sound?
That does not go together.
No, it does not. There's nothing about growth there. Not at all, right? The only one that could work is C.
Yes, sir.
And that's it. Any questions about that?
No, sir.
Okay, but it's the ideas there, right? There's no grammar there. It's just being able to understand the main ideas in the passage and the main idea of that sentence in the question. So, really, really good. Yes. Just one more. Abdul, go ahead and read number 15 for us, please.
Suppose the writer's primary purpose had been to offer an example of a discovery that changed the way scientists viewed the basic laws of chemistry. Would this essay accomplish that purpose?
Okay, this is a very specific question here, Abdul. Very specific. Yeah. What's the question asking us here?
Did it change the way that scientists looked at the basic laws of chemistry?
Yeah, if the writer's primary purpose was to offer an example of
Yeah.
a discovery that changed the way scientists viewed the basic laws of chemistry. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Would the essay accomplish this purpose if that was its purpose? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is your instinct right now, Abdul? Would this essay accomplish the purpose of giving an example of a discovery that changed the way scientists viewed the basic laws of chemistry?
I would say no, because in the last paragraph, it's that even when impurities interfere, the basic laws of chemistry still apply.
Absolutely, right? Which is, once again, why you've got to pay close attention to the ideas. They're not just testing on grammar here. It's the meaning of the passage. I agree with you 100%, right? The basic laws of chemistry still apply. They tell us that at the end.
Yeah.
So I would say definitely no. It's just C or D here. That's all we have to consider. I'm not even worried about A or B. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, start with C. Go ahead and read it.
No, because it focuses on how scientists are struggling to determine how triangular snowflakes are formed.
What do you think about that?
No.
I don't.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make a ton of sense. Hopefully D sounds better. Try D.
No, because it explains the triangular snowflakes appear to, but don't actually violate the basic laws of chemistry. That makes
There
sense.
you go. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the main idea there for sure. But do you see how important the ideas are?
Yes, sir.
Man, you've got to read for meaning. You can't just skip from an underlined portion to the next. I know some students do that. I know some students have been told to do that in their prep programs, and you can't do that. You've got to read for meaning as you're doing this. Approach this like you would on the reading section. You have to. Okay. Well, Abdul, that's all we have time for here at the moment. But those of you watching, thank you so much, Abdul. You've been fantastic, man. This has been good.
Thanks.
It's been really, really good. I appreciate your help. Thank you for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe and all that stuff, and be on the lookout for more ACT English prep videos coming out soon. ACT prep in general. So, thank you again, Abdul. Appreciate your help.
Yes, sir. No problem.
And good luck on your upcoming ACT as well.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Abdul.